That is the very, very true case of what could impact normal game day operations, which are already put out of skew being in Brazil. CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones, who's their NFL insider, reporting yesterday that because Philly got the nod from the National Football League as the home team in Sao Paulo, they are staying much closer to the stadium tonight. But Green Bay is a pretty far piece away, and traffic in Sao Paulo is a disaster always, supposed to be even worse on this holiday weekend in Brazil. Some estimate it could take the Packers an hour and a half, upwards of 2 hours to get to the stadium tonight against the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, now we look at the line. 2.5 points in favor of the Birds. The over-under stands at 49.5. Ranieri, when this line opened up earlier in the summer months, it was a 1.5-point spread in favor of Philly. The Eagles had some love in the odds markets this offseason because of the shrewd moves made by Howie Roseman and that Philly front office. But the Packers have a lot of hope entering this year with Jordan Love, who got paid earlier this offseason as well. Where do you fall in the 2.5-point spread now under that key number of a field goal?
Yeah, it's a little shocking, is it not? Especially given the fact that Green Bay might be on the road for 2.5 hours trying to get to the stadium for the game. Guys are creatures of habit, Ben. So this is going to be interesting. I know there is so much anticipation for the Eagles this year. And I'm not sold. I don't know that I am sold on the Eagles. Their win total, 10.5. I think without a doubt, the Packers are going to be able to go toe-to-toe and score if it becomes a shootout in this game, which the total seems to indicate we may get here. I just don't I'm not a big believer of the Eagles just yet. I got to see it. And I think the market is not a big believer in them anyway, Ben, which is why this number's dropping.
Yeah, just a 2.5-point spread, total of 49 and a hook. Last year, Green Bay was great as an underdog because they overexceeded expectation with Jordan Love, especially down that home stretch. Victorious in 6 of their final 8 regular season games. The upset at the Star as a touchdown dog to begin the postseason. Now we talk about the total. What are we going to see from an offensive output? 49.5. Again, as you look at the entirety of the Week 1 slate, this is the second highest over-under of all of week number 1. Only Sunday night in the Motor City between the Lions and the Rams at 52.5 currently has a higher number, Ranieri.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this could very well turn into a shootout, or it could turn into an absolute slog here and us not get anywhere remotely close to that number. You got to remember, Jalen Hurts now, new OC, Kellen Moore, right? New running back, Saquon Barkley there. You've got Dotson now in the slot as the number 3 receiver. And we also know that Jalen Hurts, no Kelsey on the offensive line. There are a lot of staples that are no longer here in Philadelphia. A lot of this is going to depend on what Jalen Hurts does against the blitz, because if you remember last year, teams were just going at him. That's when he had the biggest issues, was when teams got in his face. I would expect a lot of that from the Packers defense here tonight. So question marks on both sides, but I still have more question marks about the Eagles here.
The native of Beatrice, Nebraska, the former Cornhusker Cam Jurgens takes over at that center spot for a legend and a Hall of Famer in Philadelphia in Jason Kelce. If you have questions about Cam Jurgens, I would say do not go watch him block cattle. That's how he gets ready for football there in Beatrice. Either way, Ranieri, when you look at the odds tonight, again, Green Bay, a sensational underdog last year, 8-4 against the spread, covering by an average margin of more than 6 points per game. 6 of those 8 covers, an outright victory for Green Bay. But that was last season for the Pack, when there wasn't a ton of expectation in the first year following 15 with Aaron Rodgers as the starter. Jordan Love performed very well down the stretch. They upset Dallas on the road. They had a chance to do the same to San Francisco before faltering in the second half. You mentioned how the odds market seems to be buying back a little bit on Green Bay. Are you as optimistic as the odds are on the Packers this season?
I am, because I think what you saw last year with Jordan Love was a guy grow up right in front of our eyes, something that we have not seen in a while, and something we usually only see with some of the truly greats, right? We saw Aikman have to struggle the first couple of years, and all of a sudden you saw when it clicked with Aikman. You saw it with Love. You saw it with Peyton Manning. You've seen it with... There is just something, that moment that comes in that, second or third year where all of a sudden the game slows down to these guys and they're a different quarterback. And I think that's what we saw with Jordan Love.
We'll talk about the quarterback props for tonight in Sao Paulo and then move forward to our next primetime game in week number 1. Sunday night in Detroit, a playoff rematch between the Rams and the Lions. Up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
The quarterback comparison for the Brazilian opener tonight in Sao Paulo. Again, Philadelphia, 2.5-point favorite currently against Green Bay, a total of 49.5. Jordan Love, 256.5 his passing yards prop, actually substantially higher than that of Jalen Hurts. Last year, as the Packers started their run down the stretch, Jordan Love over this number, or at least 250 plus in 6 of the final 8 games, 18 touchdowns to only 1 INT in those 8 games to finish out the season. Jalen Hurts for an area, it's a slightly different story. He started to struggle. The O-line struggled. The defense struggled. The Eagles, one of the worst secondaries and passing defenses in the NFL a season ago. Second worst. Might be a little bit difficult to defend Jordan Love tonight. The Eagles stumbled down the stretch. They lost 5 of their final 6 games in the regular season to lose out on the NFC East divisional crown. Had to go on the road to Tampa against the Buccaneers Super Wild Card weekend, and even as a road favorite, lost to Baker and the Bucs. You mentioned your thoughts on the Eagles. How much of it is a focus on the quarterback play with Jalen Hurts starting tonight?
Well, listen, Hurts is very good under the right situations, right? The big question is, are they going to be able to utilize these new pieces on the offensive line, the new weapons? Will he find a comfort level? Now, don't forget, he's still got, Smith on the outside. He's still got Brown. He still has some guys there, tight ends, that he can utilize here. But on that flip side, too, Ben, keep in mind, this is a Vic Fangio defense of Philadelphia now. They figured, well, maybe Matt Patricia wasn't the best fill-in last year and decided that maybe, just maybe, Vic Fangio would be a good hire. The problem that I know of with Vic Fangio defenses is there is a big learning curve, and their defenses are usually much better in late October, early November than they are in September. Not to mention, outside of Darius Slay, everybody else in that secondary is a rookie. Yep. Do you know where there's no turnover, Ben? Almost none on the offensive side with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, and that unit is all back again, and I think they're going to have a ton of success early and often in this game.
The one change for Green Bay, Aaron Jones out, A.J. Dillon on IR. He is out for this 2024 season, but enter Josh Jacobs, 4-year, $48 million deal. By running back standards this offseason, he got paid. He is now the lead back for the Pack. Let's go to our next primetime game, week number 1, Sunday night in the Motor City. Enter Matthew Stafford and the Rams taking on the Lions. 24-23, the victory for Detroit in the postseason a season ago. The first playoff victory for the Lions in 32 years. Now to start 2024, 4.5-point favorite against Los Angeles. Again, highest total of the entirety of the week 1 slate. It's at 52.5.
Not high enough as far as I'm concerned here, Ben. You want to talk about the most exciting game of the weekend. This is going to be it. You're looking for scoring. This is the game that is going to provide the scoring here. I have no doubt that both of these teams will have no issues going up and down the field, scoring on one another. And listen, to me, this is all about coaching, too, as well. The mentality, and you can always tell a good team, Ben, when they take on the personality of their head coach here. McVay, still to this day, I will say, is one of the best offensive-minded head coaches in the game. He's got a proven track record, and Detroit is bought all in. I mean, absolutely all in here. I think this is going to be the best and most entertaining game of the weekend. There is no way this thing stays under 50 points. I think we end up getting closer to 60 when it's all said and done.
The Rams played 18 games last year, 9 times over, 9 times under. The playoff game had a total in the low 50s. It stayed under, but still 47 points. It wasn't exactly a slugfest in Detroit. The Lions played 20 total games a season ago, 13 games over, second highest over percentage in the National Football League. Now, we know where the expectation is for both teams. The Rams, the 7th best price in the NFC to get back to the postseason for a second consecutive year. The Lions have the second best number to win the NFC, trying to play in their second straight NFC championship game. Detroit a favorite to win the NFC North for a second straight season. A lot of focus on the quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, who spent the first decade plus in the Motor City against Jared Goff. Jared Goff, who had the second most passing yards in the NFL a season ago. Maybe the best offseason move Detroit made, not losing the OC in Ben Johnson. That consistency year over year is expected to pay dividends offensively for the Lions. Hour number 2 on a Football Friday. Up next on the Early Line.